Let's get started. Number 10, you learn to fix things instead of replacing them. When something breaks in a wealthy household, the solution is simple. Throw it out and buy a new one. But when you grow up poor, that broken toaster becomes a puzzle you have to solve. You crack it open, poke around inside, maybe hit it with a screwdriver until it works again. Research from Harvard's Project Zero found that people who regularly repair things develop what they call a repair mindset. They see broken objects not as trash, but as opportunities. A study on DIY enthusiasts found that people who love fixing things don't do it to save money. They rank creative self-expression and the satisfaction of bringing something back to life far above financial savings. The real reward is that moment when something written off as worthless starts working again. Growing up, you didn't have a choice. You fixed things because you had to. But in the process, you trained your brain to believe that problems have solutions. That broken doesn't mean finished. That carries into everything else you do. Number 9, you can stretch money like nobody else. People with lots of money often make terrible financial decisions because they've never had to think about them. Meanwhile, people who grew up counting every dollar developed what psychologists call mental budgeting. You automatically categorize expenses, track where money goes, and stretch resources in ways that would never occur to someone who's always had enough. Studies show mental budgeting is one of the strongest predictors of financial well-being. When you grew up poor, you learned that a meal isn't something you just buy. It's a puzzle you solve with whatever's in the fridge. Entertainment doesn't require a credit card. New clothes are optional when you know how to take care of what you have. These aren't skills they teach in school. They're survival instincts that translate into something incredibly valuable. Number 8, you don't panic when things go wrong. When you grow up with limited resources, your brain learns to focus intensely on immediate problems. Studies from Vanderbilt University found that scarcity activates what they call a constraint mindset. Your brain literally gets better at creative problem solving when resources are limited. A study in the Journal of Consumer Research found that people primed to think about scarcity came up with more creative solutions than people primed to think about abundance. When you've survived real hardship, a flat tire doesn't send you into a spiral. A job setback doesn't feel like the end of the world. You've seen worse. You've handled worse. That baseline of experience gives you perspective that people who've never struggled simply don't have. While others are catastrophizing about minor inconveniences, you're already 3 steps into solving the actual problem. Number 7. You appreciate small wins more deeply. Psychologists have studied something called post-traumatic growth. People who go through difficult experiences often develop a deeper appreciation for life than people who've had it easy. Researchers Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun found that 89% of people who faced real adversity report at least one positive change afterward. One of the biggest is increased appreciation for life. When you grew up poor, a new pair of shoes wasn't just footwear, it was an event. A meal at a restaurant was something you remembered for months. These experiences wire your brain differently. You actually feel joy from small things that wealthy people barely notice. The hedonic treadmill, that phenomenon where people quickly adapt to new possessions and need more to feel satisfied, runs slower for you. You learn to appreciate what you have because you remember when you had nothing. Number 6, you developed actual survival skills early. While other kids were learning which fork to use at dinner parties, you were learning skills that actually matter. How to cook with limited ingredients, how to navigate public transportation, how to talk to adults because you had to help your parents deal with landlords and bill collectors. Research on childhood development shows that kids who face moderate challenges develop greater resilience than kids who are shielded from all difficulty. The key word is moderate. Extreme poverty is harmful, but having to figure things out from a young age builds cognitive and emotional skills that last a lifetime. Resilience isn't something you're born with. It's built through what researchers call positive adaptation, despite adversity. Every time you figured out how to make lunch when there wasn't much food. Every time you entertained yourself without spending money. Every time you helped solve a family crisis, you were building neural pathways for handling future challenges. Number 5, you can spot scams and ripoffs instantly. When money is tight, you learn to evaluate every purchase. Is this worth it? Is there a cheaper option? Is someone trying to take advantage of me? These questions become automatic. Research on financial fraud shows that people with higher incomes are actually more likely to fall for certain types of scams. particularly investment fraud. They've never had to scrutinize where their money goes, so they're less practiced at recognizing when something's off. Growing up poor, you develop that gut feeling when something isn't right. You learn to recognize predatory lending, bad deals, and people trying to separate you from your limited resources. Extended warranties, subscription traps, marked up convenience store prices. You see through all of it instantly because your survival depended on not wasting money. That skepticism that felt like a burden growing up is actually a superpower in a world full of people trying to take your money. Number 4, you're comfortable being uncomfortable. One of the strongest predictors of success isn't intelligence or talent. It's the ability to tolerate discomfort. When you've slept in a cold room, worn clothes that didn't quite fit, or gone to bed hungry, you recalibrate what discomfort actually means. Studies on stress and performance found that people who've experienced moderate hardship are more likely to develop coping skills and feel confident about handling future challenges. That job that requires long hours, you can handle it. That apartment that's smaller than you'd like, you've lived in worse. You're not fragile because life never treated you like you were fragile. Most people run from discomfort. You've learned to sit with it, work through it, and come out the other side. Number 3, you understand the real value of things. When every purchase matters, you learn what things are actually worth, not their price tag, their real value. How long will this last? How much will I actually use it? Is this going to solve my problem or create new ones? Research shows that materialistic people, those who believe possessions define success, consistently score lower on measures of life satisfaction. You know that the expensive version isn't always better. You know that brands are mostly marketing. Research found that lower-income individuals sometimes get more happiness from material purchases than wealthy people get from experiential purchases. Why? Because when you've had nothing, having something solid and useful genuinely improves your daily life. You appreciate it more because you understand what it took to get it. Number 2, you built resilience without trying. Psychologist Anne Maston studied children who succeeded despite growing up in difficult circumstances. Resilience isn't rare or extraordinary. She called it ordinary magic. It develops naturally when children face challenges and have even minimal support systems. You can't build resilience in a vacuum. You need adversity to develop the skills to overcome adversity. Studies found that people who've experienced moderate stress were more confident about their abilities and had a better sense of control over their lives. Growing up poor, you built this without even knowing you were doing it. Every time you adapted to a setback, every time you kept going when things were hard, you were strengthening mental muscles that privileged kids never developed because they never had to. Number 1, you don't need stuff to feel happy. Research consistently shows that materialism and happiness are inversely related. The more people believe possessions will make them happy, the less happy they actually are. A study found that as materialism increased, gratitude and life satisfaction decreased. People felt less satisfied, mainly because they were experiencing less gratitude for what they already had. But you learned the opposite lesson. You learned that happiness doesn't come from stuff because you didn't have stuff and you still found ways to be happy. You played with friends, told stories, found entertainment in simple things. You discovered that connection, creativity, and purpose matter more than possessions. You didn't read a self-help book to learn this. You lived it. Growing up poor isn't something most people would choose, but it came with lessons that some people never learn, no matter how much money they throw at personal development courses. You learn that stuff breaks, so fix it. That money runs out, so stretch it. That life gets hard, so handle it. That small things matter, so appreciate them. That discomfort passes, so endure it. And that happiness was never in your wallet to begin with. That's all for today. If any of this resonated with you, hit subscribe. I'll be making more videos like this. And if you grew up the same way, just know that the things that felt like disadvantages back then might be some of your biggest advantages now.